I built this $1,000 collage animation with just 4 prompts, no After Effects and no keyframes. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to build one for yourself. So let's get into it. The first thing that I did was I took inspiration from Behance, literally. So there was a professional designer and she had built this for a lottery company in Virginia. And essentially what I did was I fed the source to Claude Code to analyze it frame by frame and produce a master sheet with all the assets that would be needed. And that master sheet essentially became the shopping list. So this is my first prompt here. So I said, take a look at this collage style animation. I gave the link, download it if you need to, and step through it frame by frame, break down how the effect is made. And then I'm asking for a master sheet of every asset I'd need to reproduce. So every cutout, every layer, so on and so forth. So essentially you can see that it's actually reading the website link over here and it's pulled it frame by frame. And then once it has that, what it's done is it's created a boat scene, basically a storyboard. Now let's go take a look at the storyboard. This is the storyboard over here. Again, you can build storyboards right inside Remotion. And essentially what it is that it's just a very simple scene. It has a scroll that starts closed and then it's unfolding and then it reveals the entire scenery. And then after that, we have the boat come in and then we have the all the other elements that sort of come in right after this boat scene. So essentially what it does is just write that storyboard for prompt 1. And I know this looks a bit janky, but this is just to give you a visual idea of how I build my storyboard. So once we've created the storyboard, and this is what the master asset sheet looks like. So I've got a craft paper sky. So you can see a few of these are my own files, and you can get these for free from Google Images. And then a few of the other ones are generated. So to create that parallax sort of effect with collage animations, you need 4 different strips of that ocean, and they're all moving independently of each other. And then you also have like a storm wave over here. So altogether you have 5 ocean strips. And then you have the dollar bill boat over here. And we have the front hull. And I'll tell you why we have that. And a few other assets like the pilgrims, the lighthouse, the seagull, and so on and so forth. And to be honest, subscription tools like Magnific or Higgsfield can be quite expensive. So what I did was I actually used Replicate API for this. And you literally just pay for the image. And after roughly 25 generations and picking the ones that I like, it cost about $4 in total image credits. And remember, it's like $4 to literally create something that a professional designer would charge $1,000 for. And this is the prompt that I use for generating these images. So essentially I'm saying now generate every cutout from the master sheet as a transparent PNG. And what it does is it comes back with a contact sheet over here. So if you look at this contact sheet, you will see that it's got the strips, the ocean strips over here, the wavefront, the boat, the pilgrim, the seagull, the rising sun, and then a few confetti sort of designs over here, which is the triangle and the 2 different triangles. And then you have the paper roll, which sort of unfurls in that first scene. Okay, so now that we have all the assets, the next thing to do is to start building your composition. And over here, instead of building it scene by scene, what I'm doing is I'm building it layer by layer. So the first layer is just the sky in the background, the clouds, and then that little scroll that opens up. And this is what it looks like. Okay, amazing. So we have the paper ocean. So the sun is a bit messed up, but then we have the confetti in the right place. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fix the sky over here. I'm going to increase the scale and then just have it rise from behind the ocean tide. Just going to increase the scale a little bit more. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we have our scene, we have the ocean waves all moving independently, and then we have the craft paper sun come up. And then the next scene, we're going to layer this in with the boat, the seagull, and all the other garnish, if you will. And for the next few scenes, this is what I have, guys. So this is the dollar bill boat over here, and we have the pilgrims sandwiched inside the boat. There is some rotoscoping needed, but you don't have to do any of that. So you can just tell Claude Code to rotoscope the front of the hull out, and then to put the pilgrims inside the first boat, and then you just paste the hull on top. So this is what it looks like. So this is actually two pieces. So you have the actual boat, and then you have the pilgrims over there, and then you have the hull in the front. Now, the reason we do this is because otherwise, either you'd have to lay the pilgrims right behind the boat or right in front, and that just looks really sketchy. So I didn't like it. So this is a bit of an extra step, but it just looks so much more nicer. So once we have the scene built, now what we need to do is we need to posterize. Now, posterizing is what gives it that stop motion animation kind of effect. So for example, right now it's a smooth 24 frames per second, but if I was to increase this, for example, like 12 frames, you'll see it's a bit more jerky, a little bit more choppy, but it still doesn't look all that. And what we do is we turn off the metronomic grid. And what this does is it just gives it a little bit more of that hand-placed feel. So essentially what posterized does is it holds the image in place for 2 frames. And you can see you don't want to posterize the entire scene. Now, you just want to posterize a few elements. And that's what gives it that overall hand-drawn effect. And this is what it looks like. And you can see everything else is moving at 24 frames a second, except that boat and the seagull, which gives it that stop motion effect. Once you've done that, finally, it's time to score it and add some foley. And at the end of all this, you have a nice 10-second clip of a nice crispy collage animation. So there you have it, $1,000 animation in just 4 prompts and about $4 in API credit. And all of this was done using just Fable 5 and Remotion. No need for After Effects and no fancy keyframing. I have the complete workflow and a practice kit in my free school community. The link is in the description. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of these vibe-coded motion graphics, then do subscribe. Have a good day.